Shishimar, Divine Grace, founder of ISKCON, Abhay Charanaravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki, Grantaran Shrimadbhagavatam Ki, their most merciful Lordship Shri Radhakunja Bihari Ki, Shri Jagannath, Shri Baladev Mahesabhadra Ki, Shri Nataji, Shri Balagopal Ki, Shri Gaurnitai Ki, Nitai Go Prem, all glories to the assembled. All glories to the assembled. All glories to the assembled. All glories to the Lord Spirit of Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya.
Narayanam Namaskritya.
Naram Chaiva Narottamam.
Naram Chaiva Narottamam.
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam.
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam.
Tato Jayamudiraye.
Tato Jayamudiraye.
Nasta Prasya Bhadreshu.
Nasta Prayeshu Bhadreshu.
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya.
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya.
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke.
Bhagavati Uttama Shloke.
Bhaktir Bhagavati Naistiki.
Bhaktir Bhagavati Naistiki.
Reading from Shrimadbhagavatam, Canto 1, beginning a new chapter today, chapter 14, text 1. Sutta Uvacha.
Sutta Uvacha.
Samprastite Dwarakayam Samprastite Dwarakayam Jishna Bandhu Didrikshaya Jishna Bandhu Didrikshaya Natum Cha Punya Shlokasya Jatum Cha Punya Shlokasya Krishnasya Cha Vichestitam Krishnasya Cha Vichestitam Sutuvacha Samprastite Dwarakayam Jishna Bandhu Dridikshaya Jatum Cha Punya Shlokasya Krishnasya Cha Vichestitam Sutuvacha Samprastite Dwarakayam Krishna Bandhu Didrikshaya Jatum Cha Punya Slokasya Krishnasya Cha Vichestitam Sutavacha Samprastite Dwarakayam Jisnau Bandhu Dridikshaya Jatum Cha Punya Slokasya Krishnasya Cha Vichestitam Sutavacha Samprastite Dwarakayam Jisnau Bandhu Dridikshaya Yatum Cha Punya Slokasya Krishnasya Cha Vichestitam Sutavacha. Sri Sutta Goswami said, Samprastite, having gone to Dwarakayam, the city of Dwarka, Jisnau, Arjuna, Bandhu, friends and relatives, Didrikshaya, for meeting them, Jatum, to know, Cha, also, Punya Slokasya, of one whose glories are sung by Vedic hymns, Krishnasya, of Lord Krishna, Cha, and Vichestitam, further programs of work. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Sri Sutta Goswami said, Arjuna went to Dwarka to see Lord Krishna and other friends, and also to learn from the Lord of his next activities. Please repeat. Sri Sutta Goswami said, Arjuna went to Dwarka to see Lord Sri Krishna and other friends, and also to learn from the Lord of his next activities. Sri Sutta Goswami said, Arjuna went to Dwarka to see Lord Sri Krishna and other friends, and also to learn from the Lord of his next activities. Purport. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, the Lord descended to earth for the protection of the faithful and annihilation of the impious. So after the battle of Kurukshetra and establishment of Maharaj Yudhisthira, the mission of the Lord was complete. The Pandavas, especially Sri Arjuna, were eternal companions of the Lord, and therefore Arjuna went to Dwarka to hear from the Lord of his next program of work. Om Jnanatirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshusundaritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So Arjuna is anticipating to hear from Krishna. Personally, the next things he's going to do, Srila Prabhupada is pointing out in this purport that Krishna has completed his work now. So with Arjuna's anticipation in his heart, we can see the mentality he has as he is also approaching the end of his life. And the omens that Yudhisthira is going to see is evidence of Yudhisthira's ability with divine vision to see the portents, as they're called, or omens, that the omens are revealed by nature, and nature's own feeling of separation from Krishna causes even the animal species of life to be revealing characteristics and traits that they didn't have before Krishna left the planet. So it may well be pretty well established that at that time then there was a loss between the communication between the animal kingdoms and humanity at large. There was an enmity there. At some point in the history of human existence, there was an enmity created against humankind by the animals. And it wasn't always like that. And as we see in every incarnation with Krishna, because he is in the form of the Father of all life, as Lord Vishnu, and incarnating here from the body of Lord Vishnu, it gives many who come to know the history of Krishna the belief that Lord Vishnu is the original form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so sometimes we see, even in Wikipedia, different maybe translations, even English dictionaries may say that Lord Vishnu is the original person and then Krishna is coming from him. We have inside information, and this is considered to be confidential information, the most confidential to know that Krishna was the Supreme Person. So there are people leaving the planet every day, but we don't see signs and evidences from their leaving that any effect it was having upon nature, the wind, the rain, the elements, these kinds of things like that. But as we will see, in contrast, nature itself being subservient to Krishna, when the Master and the Lord of all departs, then it is a day of sadness for all forms of life. But Krishna had completed his work here, and the reason for him to have completed that work was so that the living entities who are on the path that he has established can perform their functions and duties on the earth. For once again, the earth to be restored with justice to a place where he wanted the earth to be in, and ruled by a person who he would have the earth to be ruled by. So we are very fortunate to have the history and to know according to time and circumstance, and as well, by staying on the path, we can understand that those things to know that are necessary, in some cases for our survival, in some cases for our ability to continue on the path, Krishna gives his devotees the ability also to see the future by portents and omens that are making themselves evident in the world. See, when there are wars going on, more than just the present calamity and destruction that the war causes, the aftermath of the war is sometimes more devastating and can last. The devastation of the war that the war caused can last for years and years after the war is over. So much land usable for agriculture, and that is just destroyed, bombed, and then what to speak of the conditions of the human beings that are left when their land has been destroyed like that, and so many homes have been destroyed, recuperation. So it is a wave of karma that goes out when these wars take place, and that karma is forcing people then to come back and pay for the lives that were lost. So you have legislators that sit in offices making decisions for other people to go out and risk their lives on behalf of the ideas that they formulate in their minds as being that which is worthy of killing other human beings for. But we are receiving the understanding from our Guru, Srila Prabhupada, who has also authorized other souls to become gurus, who are carrying on the understanding that for the entirety of this age, Kali Yuga, now, there is not a cause to fight for in regards to military powers of the world. But by the preaching and by knowledge being distributed to the leaders and the people in general, the population of the world, by knowledge of God being promoted eventually into the educational system at very young ages, people can be brought to the stage of realization before they graduate from high school. And thereafter, carrying on the same mood of servitude that all human beings have as a responsibility to pay for the privilege of being even born. We are indebted to 33 million souls for the ability to be brought to life into any particular planet within the universe. And so immediately we are indebted. And so this indebtedness has to be paid for. This is the laws of karma. This is the laws of nature. And everything we do with our life is dependent upon whether our debt will be paid for and our work will be finished, or whether we will become more indebted to the material energy for the fact that we don't acknowledge our indebtedness. We act like unruly children, undeserved of that which is being constantly given. And so when we take part in the Dharma of the age, the activities of Dharma themselves keep us free, and free from creating further debts, and free us from the previous debts we owe. Because now we are taking part in the internal energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, which has removed us from the energy, the external energy of the Supreme Person, and has thereby made us impervious to the effects of the material energy, because we are no longer putting ourselves in that energy. So when we pursue our own desires by the false egos that we have in this world to believe that this world is ours to enjoy, then we create by those activities the reaction to those desires we create. And so our indebtedness, because none of this is ours, then we continuously, as human beings, if we do not take part in freeing ourselves from the reactions of the self-ego, the false self-ego, because it's not the true self that when we act upon the desires and the cravings of the physical body, we're not acting upon the desires of the soul. For the desires of the soul to be manifest, meditation is required. Surrender is required. And obedience to certain laws and restrictions is required. Even though people are being brought up to believe that freedom means you can do whatever you want in this world. That's what people are concluding freedom to be. But if the term freedom can be defined as one's ability to do whatever they want, what are they becoming free from is the question. We are becoming free to perform anything we want to do in this world. What was it that we are becoming free from? So our purpose with serving the supreme powers that be, with serving the supreme person from whom all power and whom all authority is coming from, is fulfilled. Our purpose in wanting to satisfy our own needs is automatically fulfilled by our engaging in that energy which the Supreme Lord has come with the purpose of fulfilling. Krishna came to fulfill for humanity now, making allowances on the earth for humanity at large to be able to engage in the dharma of the age that he has established. So, by killing all the miscreants, he stops the furtherance of their ideas of what human beings should do, and thereby also establishes himself what activities human beings should engage in. And so we have, by these pastimes, the privilege of being able to read every day what moral standards Krishna sets for humanity at large to take part in. And mankind does not have the ability of himself, of his own, to be able to adhere to these precepts and concepts without the aid of the Supreme Person. Maybe we may come to find that eating foods of a vegetarian nature is less harmful for our physical bodies than eating the dead flesh of animals' bodies. We may come to that stage of development.
Goodness.
That still does not mean we're free from the karma, taking the life of other living entities, because the act of eating requires the taking of another form of life, or its fruit. So when you take the fruit from a tree, you're not actually requiring the life of another living entity to be sacrificed. The fruit of the tree is meant for human consumption. Same thing with the vegetables in the field. But with the mind and the development constantly of everything the soul engages in, the belief that this is mine to take, I'm the owner, I'm the controller, I have perfect vision of what is best for me in life, and nobody can tell me that. This is not real freedom. And it keeps us connected to the material energy, which all the spiritual paths being given to humanity at large are being given for the sake of freeing humanity at large from the effects of their own karma that they accumulate. And so, rather than looking at the scriptures, at that which, and the laws of God, at that which frees us and does actually give us the true experience of what freedom really is, because all these guidelines are meant to help us perfect the human form of life. And in our using these senses as they were created and meant to be used for, they can actually become better and better and better at what the functions they are performing in life. And so if the mind is controlled and taking part in a process to remain in that controlled state, like two tracks that a train rides on. And with the devotee also engaged in devotional service, there's sadhana and there's bhakti, and the spiritual master's instructions are what we follow, because the spiritual master, the relationship we develop with the spiritual master enables him to give us directions directly pertaining to our specific situation. And then, so he's playing the position of Diksha Guru, and then we have in constant contact with other devotees who are playing the part of Shiksha Guru, and we are submitting ourselves to the association of one another and taking the position of receiving instruction from one another, so that, again, Krishna's purpose, we can become better human beings. And in our relationships that we develop with one another, they increase in us the facility for knowing the fullness, that love for Krishna that we are going to be brought to by the development of these relationships we have with one another. They're by respect automatically incorporated. When you're brought up in American society anymore, respect is not so much inbred in the children as much as the concept of equality is being made and looked at as a principle higher than regards for law, higher than regards for those ancient principles that have existed since the foundation of the world. Because for the most part, people don't even have knowledge of these truths that human beings were given from the beginning to conduct themselves as human beings, become more perfected. So without the knowledge, then they have no means of giving that knowledge to others. So the societies of the world are developing with the involvement of souls who are not necessarily on spiritual development. And so the characteristics of their personalities that are manifesting are a cause for another of them to be affected by the modes of material energy, and for the most part moving them to make the decisions they make in life, because they are submitting themselves to the control of the mind and its direct relationship to the senses of the body that are demanding the soul what it craves. I want this for my tongue today. I want this for my eyes. I want this for my ears. And these are all desires of the soul that does not know its self-satisfaction, the satisfaction it can obtain from knowing the self and its relationship to Krishna, which this chanting every day takes about 2 hours to do, develops in us. So that then after a while, it's not restricted to 2 hours a day. The whole life becomes a constant experience of chanting and communing with Krishna. How do I do this, Krishna? How do I do this, Krishna? And we're realizing that pursuit to become better human beings, that we have the one who is the most perfect human being to rely upon for that answer to come to us in our minds. That is his joint connection with us in our consciousness. This is what Krishna consciousness is, receiving the best answers, the perfect answers from the perfect person through meditation of that person. And that person who is the source of all jobs, all work, all efforts being made in the world. And when we come to that realization, automatically develops in our personalities those qualities and characteristics recognized by other human beings that as qualities which they would also like to develop.
Sorry, Prabhu, not intended to disturb you.
When I first came to the movement, bringing outside literature, like Time magazine, Life magazine, newspapers, all these things, was considered taboo. Because these things are working in direct opposition to the energy that we are working towards developing in the world. And so now, through our use as well of the things being created by the newest generation coming up with all this technology, we are now taking for granted things to be allowed that previously were being thought of as not things we should engage in. Especially, is this your father? Why is he interrupting class to talk to you?
No idea.
I have never seen him before in my life. He's acting like he's more important than anything else. Anyway, this is the way we are. I don't think he even heard a word I spoke. But this is our problem. This is why we are in this situation we are in temporarily, because we didn't perfect the last situation we had. We didn't come to the stage of perfection to be able to gain that eternal relationship with the Supreme Person, which is the returning to the eternal dwelling. So there are some souls who are coming here with the purpose of being able to continue here, like Narad Muni, because their purpose is to preach and to liberate souls from the material existence of the universe. But those who are choosing to come from the spiritual world have already been liberated from the control of the material energy. So until we actually see Krishna person to person and are in that place of eternal servitorship, we should set our minds just presently wanting to do where we are, whatever Krishna finds for us to be best suited for doing. So, in discussing means of preaching to other souls, because every day devotees are coming in contact with souls, some of whom are atheists, some of whom are practicing Islam, some might be practicing Christianity, some may be sitting on the fence somewhere not knowing what to practice, or if there's any reason to practice anything. Agnostics, see? And so in that, and in our constant contacting with other human beings, we should also be developing that quality of wanting to somehow give all those that we come in contact with this truth that we have as common knowledge amongst ourselves, as that connection we can make with the Supreme Consciousness that is available to us all the time to access. And we are given the understanding that the easiest way for us to gain access to that Supreme Consciousness is by the chanting and the meditation upon the mood we must develop in order to experience that consciousness with the Supreme. So you're not alone. You may be in a room with no one else visible to see, but the body you are inhabiting as a soul is being shared by two living beings, you and the Supreme. And it is the supreme purpose revealed here in this verse that Krishna comes to establish for all those living beings who come after him to be able to follow, to find the most sublime experiences of life. As is spoken in the Bible, I come that you may have life and life more abundantly. And then we have to determine and understand and define what life is. So is life just having access to a bunch of possessions in this world? Is that what life is? Is the fulfilling of everything we want with these physical bodies that try and somehow satisfy the sense of these physical bodies? Is that what life is? Or is life coming to the point of self-realization, learning the substance we're made of, and being able to engage in activities that enable us to be able to know the substance of the self, and thereby establishing what kind of relationship the Supreme Person is giving us the ability to establish with him. And so then there are no more obstacles in our life. Once that point of surrender has happened in a life, we just read in previous verses, and in 9th canto it is revealed with Durvas Muni and Ambarish Maharaj interactions, that once the soul surrenders to the Supreme Person who is in control of everything, he himself, Krishna himself, gives that person the protection of his greatest weapon, his chakra, his Sudarshan chakra, protecting you, everyone who surrenders, everyone who's listening to the sound of this sound vibration of the truths of Krishna's testimony to the world, of his life and revealing of his life, what he has done for the furtherance of mankind, then we have access to directly to that consciousness of Krishna that he's wanting to share with us, to give us that assurance for us to know surely, without doubt, as it's repeated, without doubt, these things are being given to us, without doubt, for us to be perfected in love, in pure, absolute, divine consciousness of love. What love is, what love means, and how love can manifest through us to give also this connection to every living form of life that we come in contact with. And not only human beings, because you have to know the power of this chanting of Hare Krishna is such that it affects every form of life that Krishna wants it to affect when it comes out of your mouth. So you may be standing in a park somewhere, and unknowingly by your chanting audibly, you're affecting the squirrel, you're affecting the tree, you're affecting every blade of grass. If you're near a river, you're affecting the fish, the birds around. You're affecting the environment without knowing it. So this grand pursuit to perfect the earth automatically comes by the chanting of these holy names and the perfecting of the human consciousness, so that those that are given the responsibility to hold in their life as that which they should conduct themselves to enable the society to care for the things of this earth, will come a more perfect ability in humankind by the constant concentration and meditation and communication and union with the supreme consciousness that we call Krishna consciousness. So, I'm going to end class early today. Anyone have any comments, any questions, any realizations?
Nine.
Krishna's mercy.
New chapter. Okay.
New chapter, brand new chapter, the disappearance of Lord Krishna.
So again, after ending up victory in the Lord, but still he goes to the Lord for next instruction, what to follow.
Yeah. This is the summum bonum of all of Bhagavatam, is that feeling we have for Krishna developing. And this particular chapter will give us that, probably more greatly than a lot of chapters will. Jai Shrimadbhagavatam, ki jai, Srila Prabhupada, ki jai.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.